Hello, everyone. I'm Nura. Welcome to this Astro Healing session. I'm an intuitive astrologer. Thank you for being here with me today from wherever you're tuning in from. It's such an honor to spend this time with you. And it's very important time spent because you get to focus on yourself and how all of the cosmic dramas are playing out in your own personal life. And I know there's going to be a really wide spectrum of experiences. But this is such a beautiful opportunity to really go back and reflect on what was really present for you over this past week, and then also come into this coming week with some creative strategy being aligned with where the planets are right now. So last week was our first time doing this astro healing, astro recapitulation, and that was really, really awesome. I know for myself, I had a lot that opened up for me. And if you were here, how is it for you? I'd love to hear from you in the comments. I'd love to know also who's with me right now. I see a few of you are here, so thank you for being here live. So I know for me, I had a lot that opened up, particularly around the full moon time, the full moon in Leo. And tonight, we're going to be looking back at the transits that we had last week, and then I'll offer you some journaling prompts to really connect with so that you can fully integrate what happened for this past week. And it's really so important to just take this time to do this. This is really a space for, you probably want your journal, you'll probably want your calendar, and maybe a tea, and just take some time to be with you and reflect on how this past week went for you. Especially in a world that is seemingly speeding up, always adding more to our plates. We don't want to leave ourselves behind. So this astro recapitulation, this remembering and making connections is so immensely supportive for our healing and staying clear in ourselves. So we'll be together live tonight for 25 or so minutes. And this is also an ongoing weekly thing happening every Friday night, 5:30 Pacific time, 8:30 Eastern, that we'll be doing in this Spirit and Spark community, which I absolutely love this community. And if you haven't yet seen what I do, you can check out the readings and workshops that I offer at spiritandspark.com. All right. So we're seeing some comments coming in here. Hello from Massachusetts. Why does it feel like everyone is bonkers? Right? I know. I feel like that full moon has a lot to do with it. Lots of rest this week. Snowy weather keeping you close to home. Energy feeling a little bit threatening, not being able to connect with too many people. Yeah, I can imagine that feeling kind of interesting too with the full moon, because full moons typically bring out some of the wild in people, which can be really beautiful in certain ways, but then also sometimes it can feel a little bit maniacal, or like there's a lot going on. And then you add weather to that, and then it can be kind of like the perfect storm. But hopefully that was an opportunity for you to be able to, get into that rest mode, like you mentioned, and be able to integrate. Very moody. Yeah, moody. That typically happens around full moons as well. There's just a lot to feel. So if you give yourself the space to feel, usually it helps kind of move the energy rather than like holding on to it. I notice for myself, it's like what you resist persists, right? And so if you are like, oh, I'm feeling moody, but I'm going to resist it. I'm going to try to push it away and pretend that I'm super happy, when actually it's probably better to spend some time alone, right? Rather than everybody kind of being a victim of my anger or whatever, whatever it is, whatever the expression of the moodiness is, right? So there's a lot of strategy. And this actually comes into some of the cards that I pulled for today too. And so I pulled the 5 of Swords and the 10 of Swords around what we really get to let go of for this past week. So 5 of Swords, really big energy, perhaps around conflicting mental thoughts, conflicting ideas. But seeing the 10 of Swords, it actually shows that there's something that really wants to be dropped from the past week. And that can actually be really potent if you think of the full moon energy that we had. It was a full moon in Leo with the final degrees of the sun shining on the final degrees of that moon in Leo. And so Aquarius, air sign, definitely has a strong influence with the swords in the tarot. And so there's something that, you can actually release this mental competition. You can actually lay it to rest. And this might just mean you have to kind of look at that, ask it questions, ask the parts of you that are holding on. And then I asked about strategy for this coming week. And it's so funny, I actually pulled the strategy card, 7 of Swords with the 2 of Cups. So for this coming week, there's something actually around. So if you are having a hard time letting go of the thoughts, the cyclical thoughts, there might be a new strategy that you get to employ. It might not be that you're able to just like willpower it and muscle your way through it. Like maybe that means calling in some support, especially with this 2 of Cups. Like maybe there's somebody who wants to witness you, or that you can witness them. And that can actually be a really big part of the strategy, because I don't think we're here to do all of this alone. Absolutely. Totally share anything that's coming up for you. And yeah, full moons tend to bring up volatility. Totally. I do find that it tends to peak around the full moon, and then we tend to see the waning of that in the waning moon phase, which we are in now. So I wonder if you're experiencing that. Oh, and getting a reading. Totally. I do offer readings through the Spirit and Spark. Spiritandspark.com. You can find all my readings available there. Okay, so feel free to keep sharing any experiences that come up. And I'm going to go through the transits of last week. And so this would be a really good time to pull out your journal, pull out your calendar. If you are somebody who writes things down, you'll definitely get a lot out of this if you're able to actually know, okay, this is what I did this day. This is what I was feeling, even if it's not super detailed. Or you can kind of go backwards and fill it in for each of the days, or for some of the days I kind of lumped together. Okay, so this is also a good opportunity. If you know a friend who loves astrology and who could use some healing strategy support, please send them this link and invite them to join, and the more the merrier. Okay, so we are going to be looking back at what brought us to this moment in time. Keyword forgiveness, right? Where is forgiveness needed? How do we get to integrate the lessons that the transits brought up for us? And then we're going to look at the transits for the week ahead and what we can focus on in our creative strategy. And at the end, we'll focus on a very simple embodiment practice that you can take and use throughout the week. So before we dive in, I just wanted to share a bit of my Astro Healing philosophy. And then I'm going to take a look at these comments. I believe we're all here very intentionally on a creative healing journey of some kind. And as we're reclaiming our power, we are realizing that we are the creators of our own lives. And I actually think that's where a lot of the swords come in, right? There's a lot of this, thoughts become things. And the more we realize that, the more power we tend to feel. And when we feel more powerful, we tend to experience our life more in a sense of alignment and what we really want to feel. I also view the planets as emissaries for divine timing. So sometimes there can be something that we want and it's just not happening at exactly the time that we want it to happen. But it doesn't mean it's not meant to happen. It might just mean it's not meant to happen right now. And this is where faith really comes in. And I really do see astrology as a beautiful doorway for faith and trusting in divine timing, trusting in our own timing of our own unfolding. And to be the most powerful and purposeful creators that we can be, we need to have all of ourselves here in the present moment. And this becomes most possible with any kind of recapitulation work, which is what we're doing here right now. Okay, so let's see. Yeah, lately creating things in your head that are not even there. I think a lot of us can identify with that. Thank you for sharing. Okay, so just tuning into yourself and your own experience, what was the energy that you felt most strongly last week? If you had to give it a name, feel free to drop it in the comments. How was last week for you? We had last weekend, Saturday and Sunday, I mentioned this last week, we had the moon in Cancer. So there was very much a potential for self-care, some R&R, rest and relaxation, rejuvenation, recuperation. But sometimes if we're not able to do that, we'll almost see the energy of the opposite kind of happen. So it could have been a very busy weekend for you last weekend. And then Monday, February 14th, we had Valentine's Day, which is always a really interesting day energetically because there's such a wide expanse of different experiences, right? If you're single, you can either love or hate this day, right? If you're in a complicated relationship, right? Some years Valentine's Day is amazing, and other years they're like, "Ah, okay, can we not focus on this, right?" So it's a very complicated, energetic day. But I do feel like, especially since Mercury entered Aquarius that day after having his retrograde time, there's a lot of this invitation of how can we expand our idea of love to the more platonic level, almost like the love for humanity. I feel like Valentine's Day, we could probably rebrand it a little bit and make it more of something just simply called Love Day, or just a day that we're focusing on love, loving ourselves, loving other people, loving the people in our lives, our families, our friends. And that Mercury in Aquarius, he just came back from being retrograde for about 2 months in his retrograde cycle. So there's a lot of this, we've finally exited um, heavy Capricorn energy, was kind of really bringing us into this reflection on our history, like our collective history. And Pluto there has been really dredging stuff up from the bottom. And a couple of you mentioned roller coaster, overwhelming, a little bit negative, overwhelming. I mean, yeah, like these cards coming up, right? Like there's a lot of that deep subconscious energy that came up while Mercury was retrograde, especially in Capricorn, so close to Pluto, because this is the energy of the deep soul stuff coming to the surface. And if you are a sensitive being, if you have any, strength of, which I believe we all have, of being psychic, or, being a highly sensitive person, or being an empath, like that Mercury with Pluto energy was really, really heavy, really, really big. I know for sure I was doing my absolute best to just be in constant transmutation and knowing too, like, oh, something might come up and it might not be mine. Right. And so from that space, actually inviting in heart commands and letting it be something really simple, like, dear heart, please lift from my body and field all energy that is not mine now. Deep breath in and open mouth, exhale. And I've found myself doing that multiple times around last weekend and early in the week. So yeah, I imagine if you're here listening, you're probably very connected to your psychic gifts and being an empath. And we tend to just feel things more. Oh, transiting Pluto in the 9th house. I wonder what transmutations came up around your philosophies. That's a really big sort of mental expanding energy. Okay, so we had a lot open up for us on Valentine's Day. Then that same day, we also had the Pluto in Capricorn trine the North Node in Taurus. So that was Monday, and that would have been kind of at the peak of that aspect, because the aspects and the transits, they kind of build up. Like we'll feel it for a week before and usually a week after. So we're still kind of in this, right? The Pluto in Capricorn trine the North Node in Taurus. And trines always bring a strong energy of like an ease of communication between the planets involved. And so Pluto, the planet of alchemy, transmutation, deep subconscious healing, trine, which means very, very effortless flow, trine the North Node. And the North Node is like our collective destiny. The North Node is what we're moving toward, what we are endeavoring toward. And it's almost like if you do the work of the North Node, you will see positive results. They might not come exactly in the way that you think they'll come, but kind of look back to the beginning of your week last week. Was there something that was brought up around like opportunity? And this could be healing and clearing opportunity that might accelerate you on your journey with that Pluto in Capricorn trine the North Node in Taurus. Also, if you know your chart, do you know where you had this in your chart, this Earth trine? And the Earth trines tend to bring up conversations around money, resources, safety, security, the foundations of your life. This could be things having to do with jobs, career, what the work is that you're doing out in the world. And so a trine from Pluto in the North Node could really indicate sometimes there can be an upheaval and it can feel really difficult, like there could be a big change to your foundation. But with the trine to the North Node, it's for the best, even if it doesn't feel that way right now. So I think somebody who's listening needed to hear that, either who's here live or watching on the replay. But the Pluto trine the North Node is really a reminder that, yes, change is really hard, but it is for our best interest. It is for our highest evolution. So the more we roll with it, the more we trust, the more we have faith in our higher self, in the divine that's always guiding us, we will be just fine. And we will come out stronger and better positioned, especially resourcefully, financially. That's really what the earth energy is inviting us to look at. So speaking of earth energy, then we moved into Tuesday and Wednesday. We had the Mars-Venus conjunction in Capricorn. That was exact Wednesday, February 16th. And that was the same day that we had the full moon in Leo. So the Mars-Venus conjunction has really been reminding us of the importance of the masculine and feminine working together. Like we're on the same team. It's not like girls versus boys, Venus versus Mars, right? That even when we say that out loud, it feels juvenile. Like it feels like a stunting of our evolutionary journey, right? And in Capricorn, that conjunction in Capricorn invites maturity, invites relational maturity. So that was an energy that came through really, really strongly on Wednesday. And actually, that one's continuing. We're going to be working with that for the next few months, kind of on and off. They're going to make another conjunction in Aquarius. So we get to work with our planets of love and desired nature ongoing. Oh, and I should mention this too. February 24th, I have a workshop through the Spirit and Spark platform. And you can also find this if you're on my mailing list with all the details that come out around your love language and desired nature, really working very intentionally with the Venus and Mars energy in your chart. Because they're going to show you what's your love language, like how do you love? How do you need to be loved? How are you learning to open yourself up to receive love? All of these kinds of things. And so that was something that was really opened up this past week. And then when we had the full moon in Leo, that same day, February 16th, there was something that really invited us to be courageous, to be bold. So a question for you is, what did you do last week? Whether it was on the exact same day as the full moon or not, but did you do something that you got to celebrate already, or maybe you haven't yet celebrated because it's the first day of the weekend. So maybe you've been preparing, this weekend to be your celebration time. But what do you get to celebrate that was opened up in you this full moon in Leo? Because Leo really reminds us, like, fortune favors the bold. Leo also rules the heart. So when we are tapped into our heart reminds us that when we are in the energy of love and celebration, the magnetic qualities of our hearts really radiates out very, very far. And so we want to notice that, like we want to give attention to it. That's what this full moon in Leo said. It's like, look at me, heart. The heart is saying, look at me. Look at what makes you feel alive. Look at what makes you feel joyful and in the present moment. So how do you get to celebrate this week just the beauty of being alive, just the beauty of all that is here for you on your conscious evolution journey? Oh, I love this question. So if I'm a Libra with Aquarius rising and an Aries moon, what would you recommend for all the air energy? Well, with all of these cards that came up, right? I would definitely recommend having a mental strategy. And that could be as simple as having mantras, like written down mantras. I have some strong air in my chart too. I have an air moon. So I need pretty much constant daily reminder to stay on purpose in my thoughts, or else it's very easy to kind of get pulled everywhere. And, somebody can have a different idea of something and I could be like, oh, really? Like, is that true? So it's almost like the really high qualities of being diplomatic and being able to see all of the positions, to see all the perspectives. That's really a gift of air signs. Sometimes it can work against us, right? If we're almost too open, like, oh, wow, there's so many possibilities. So this is where, like, getting really clear of, like, what will serve me? What is the language that will serve me? What are the words that I can speak to myself that will serve me? If I'm continually having conversations with people who are really in a fearful place, is that helpful to me? Right? You could be the person also on the other side of things who actually could be helping to uplift, because that's also a very air sign quality. Ooh, lots of Aries moon here. Love that. Very with Chiron there in Aries right now, lots of healing of your self-image. So we're going to have lots of that Aries expansion when Jupiter enters Aries May 27th through to October this year. So your Aries moon will get a lot of attention at that time. Okay, so that brings us to today. So today, this morning, we had the sun enter Pisces. And so that's really brought us into the energy of yin, mutable water, the connection with the dreamer. The dreamer meets the dream, the mystic, the poets, this life-giving enchantment and spiritual contemplation energy. It's so beautiful. I really love this Pisces energy. And it's also, being water, it can be very supportive for releasing any of the difficulty that we've had with our thoughts. Think of this Two of Cups, right? Like make a deal or make some sort of agreement with your higher self that you will only receive information that is healing, or that you will do the emotional processing work that's required that will really support you in your growth, in your expansion, in your ascension, in your spiritual contemplation at this time. So Pisces season in general, this is going to be a season of exploring our addictions, potential tendencies toward escapism, which, right, like we can all experience that from time to time. And something I've been really reflecting on around escapism is I think we tend to only want to escape a situation that we feel powerless against. Like we feel powerless to make a change, or we feel powerless to heal something, which can really, there's a lot of things we could be looking at in the world right now that could bring on these feelings. So there's an opportunity this Pisces season to get so clear with your connection with your higher self, with the divine, and however you connect to divine energy, to reclaim your power, to reclaim your spiritual strength, because there's a lot that can open up. There's a lot that can be healed when you are in your own spiritual power. Also, a reflection question. So really around this energy of today, and this will actually take us into next week, because really we're going to have the sun in Pisces for the whole upcoming month. But what's your relationship with the second attention? Meaning, like we can think of our first attention as like, I'm looking at this. Oh, there's a lamp right there. I'm noticing it. I'm looking at it. It's very clear. It's obvious. It's very 3D. It's very tangible. Like that's the first attention. But the second attention is almost that more subtle, quiet place where if you kind of soften your eyes a little bit, like imagine you're zoning out and you're not actually even seeing what's right in front of you. You're seeing something beyond. That's the second attention. That's the place where you go and you soften your monkey mind and you tune in more with your senses and the in-between realms with your imagination. And so that is a really big invitation today and ongoing for the next couple weeks. So some journal questions for you, kind of a reiteration of what I mentioned earlier, but just in case you're just hopping on. What did you create this past week? What did you celebrate, or what can you celebrate? And it's never too late, right? You can celebrate what happened last year if you haven't got to it yet, right? There's never too late to celebrate. Reflecting on all of the energies that came in this past week, who or what needs forgiveness? Who or what can you send more love, more forgiveness? And what was one insight or lesson that you gained from the energy of last week that you get to take with you into this coming week? And so if you have any responses to any of these questions that you'd love to be seen for, to share with everyone, we'd love to hear in the comments. Okay, so this past week really brought up a lot of energy around sacred union, creativity, allowing ourselves to be bold, living from the heart, releasing fear. Remember, fear comes up, rising from the subconscious to be healed and cleared. And so for this coming week, we have February 20th, 2 days from now, we have the sun in Pisces square Ceres in Gemini. And so this is going to bring up themes of cyclical wisdom and timeless truth. Like, where can you attune to, oh, this is a cycle that's happening? And it's Pisces, Gemini. So these are both mutable signs. These are signs that ask us to look at perhaps the cycles of thoughts, right? We pulled a lot of air cards for this week. And so, what are the thought cycles that come up for you? Are there cyclical questions that come up? And with Pisces being a sign connected to faith and belief, is there some sort of belief cycle that comes up? And then, what does that look like? This could be for somebody who maybe really questions their faith or questions what they believe in. What is reality? What do I believe about reality? That could be a really strong energy over this weekend. Take note, right? Then we'll be back here next week and we'll get to look back and see what came up for you. And then Monday, February 21st, we will have the moon in Scorpio, co-present with the South Node in Scorpio. So this will be a really beautiful opportunity, both Monday and Tuesday, to actually be detoxing a lot of emotions that need to be purged. So remember, whatever comes up Monday and Tuesday is coming up to be let go of. Could also be coming up to remind you of just how powerful you are. What a beautiful healer you are, your healing and transmutation potential. We'll also have the moon opposite Uranus between Monday and Tuesday. And Uranus is the planet of liberation. So there could be a lot of energy of releasing and awakening, especially of the emotional nature, because that's what the moon is our emotions. And then Tuesday, February 22nd, we'll have Mercury, planet of communication and the mind, conjunct Juno, who is our goddess asteroid of commitments and soul contracts. So Tuesday, there might be some energy around updating karmic agreements and soul contracts. So stay aware for that. We always have a choice, right? I believe everybody comes into our life for a reason, a season or a lifetime. But there's always some sort of karmic agreement, and we can always update these karmic agreements at any time. And then Wednesday, February 23rd, we'll have Jupiter in Pisces, semi-square Pluto in Capricorn. So Jupiter is how we expand and open and connect to our higher self. And Pluto is how we transform and collective healing. So I really see the semi-square energy between them as a test of faith, but it will be easily won. That's what semi-square energies do. They give us just enough creative tension to challenge us, but then they bring us through to that other side. And then that same day, Wednesday, February 23rd, is going to be action-packed. So we'll have the last quarter moon at 5 degrees Sagittarius. So where do you have 5 degrees Sagittarius in your chart? That's going to show you where you are in your sort of enchantress or enchanter wisdom and how you can vision ahead, looking at the future. And that same day, we'll also have Mercury officially exiting his post-retrograde shadow phase at 10 degrees Aquarius. So this will bring on an energy of renewal and so that we're ready for what's coming. And then we'll have next weekend, we will have a Capricorn stellium really highlighted by the moon, as well as Mercury in Aquarius sextile Chiron in Aries. So for those of you who have the moon in Aries, this will be a really big time to heal self-talk, but really for everybody. If you look at where you have the sextile relationship of Aquarius and Aries, they're 2 signs apart. These are the areas of your life that you're really going to be working through healing your self-talk. Okay. So we are going to connect with all of this again next Friday, same time, and you'll be able to reflect on your strategy. How did it go? What kind of new affirmations did you bring in? What new mantras did you get to try? What new awareness sort of came into your life as a result of even just spending a little bit of time with this information or with the transits? So if you're new to astrology and you want to learn the basics of reading the symbols in your chart, be sure to stay tuned for my upcoming workshop on Astro Basics. So this is where we'll be understanding all of the symbology and how to look at the chart, how to read the chart. This will be Saturday, March 5th. And it's also listed on the Spirit and Spark website, along with the readings that I do there. So definitely reach out if you have any questions about this or if this cosmic wisdom language is calling to you. Okay, so before we leave, just so that we're not all hyped up on the air with all of these sword cards here, Just want to invite you into a moment of alternate nostril breathing, and this can really help us to stay balanced and grounded, especially during a week of immense energetic upheaval on the collective scale. Like we're about to have the Pluto return in the United States, so there's a lot of collective energy. So alternate nostril breathing, we're pretty much just blocking out one nostril and then switching to the other one. So we'll take a deep breath in, block the right nostril, exhale. Inhale through the left. Switch the blocking and exhale through the right. Inhale through the right. Switch and exhale through the left. Inhale through the left and switch. Exhale through the right. And this is a really beautiful breath work practice that, especially if you are anywhere in the monkey mind or feeling overstretched by all of the questions, by all of the mental uncertainty that can come up, you can do alternate nostril breathing, really support you in feeling balanced, grounded here in the present moment. Oh, I love final question before we close. So are all thoughts divinely connected? How to categorize them and know to process them or let them go. Ooh, I love that question. So earlier in this session, I mentioned heart commands. And so what I'll always do, especially if I'm kind of in that place of like, is this a thought for me to explore or is this a thought for me to release and just let it go? I will do the heart commands. And first I'll release any energy that's not mine. And after I release the energy that's not mine, anything that's left, I'll know it's for me to work on. And usually I feel like any thoughts that are lingering or repeating and that I can't really solve, I know that they're connected in some way to emotions. So then I'll maybe do some tapping, or I'll do some yoga, or I'll go for a walk, or I'll get in my body, but I'll also really call in any feelings that I might be repressing. And then notice how those thought forms and those stories might be connected to the emotions that I'm repressing, because they're all messengers. I do believe they're all divinely connected in some way, and to what degree we get to hold on to them and play with them versus just let them go, it's going to be a case-by-case basis. But yes, I definitely see all thoughts as messengers, just as all emotions are messengers and guidance. And it's the discernment, it's the discrimination of like, is this something for me to connect with more, or do I get to just let it go? All right. It's been such a pleasure to spend this time with you all. And if you want more of this, feel free to join in again next week, next Friday night, Astro Healing. And just sending you so much love and gratitude and appreciation across the space. I hope you enjoy this coming week. Bye for now.